People, it is your main man, Charles Tank Harris, the founder and chief visionary officer of the financial literacy platform Wealth Our Way, where we have the motto of wealth is not only for the wealthy. I welcome each and every one of you to episode 33 of the Financial Power Hour. And boy, do we have a show for you tonight. Before I get started, I got to practice the attitude of gratitude and say thank you, thank you, thank you to the many people who will be with us live as we stream across the Wealth Our Way Facebook page and the Wealth Our Way Network YouTube page. If you have not subscribed to the Wealth Our Way Network YouTube page, please do so today. It's the holiday season. Be caring, be thoughtful, be giving. Then I'm going to give the Wow Nation salute to the many members of Wealth Our Way Nation who watch this program in its pre-recorded state, overnight, over the weekends, wherever they can get their financial literacy fix. And last but not least, a heartfelt how are you to the good folks on the Life 101 platform who listen to the audio recording of this very here program. And with that, kick the promo.
I grew up in West Philly, and times was tough. Single mom, 4 kids, there was never enough. What's a youngin' to do? Join a gang or a crew, or go to school, hit the books, and find a mentor or two? God was on my side, Mom's was not with the games, so I studied extra hard, created a lane, read books by Warren Buffett and Benjamin Graham, spent time on Wall Street, and now I'm the man. But there's still much to do, and plenty to say, so I present the Power Hour, by Wealth Our Way. Enjoy the show.
See, the camera almost caught me doing the WAP. I was back here getting it in. What's going on, my people? So I'm excited tonight because we're wrapping up the year. This is the last broadcast for the calendar year 2022 for Wealth Our Way. We are no more 15 minutes of finance next week. This is the last financial power hour of the year. And I definitely, not by design, just by God's great plan, have brought you a very, very touching, thought-provoking, time-sensitive, much-needed show to close the year out. There's been so much being said across social media of late with the passing of the DJ / dancer at the Ellen show. People are really craving information right now as it pertains to how do we navigate all of the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations, the stresses, and even the blessings. Like sometimes even when you get too much that's good for you, it throws your thermostat off. How do we navigate that? How do we deal with that in this very delicate balance of our mental health? Tonight, I'm blessed to have 2 good brothers with me that are going to come have a fireside chat with your boy, Big Tank. The first is my big brother in God, my boy, Doug Reed. So here's the thing. I was a board member for a great organization founded by my girl, Tasneem Suleiman. Shout out to Taz. Black Men Heal, which is dedicated to giving men of color 8 free sessions of therapy with operators that look like them. And with all of my obligations with Wealth Our Way and my other business endeavors and being a dad and all the things that I do, I didn't feel as though I was serving or living up to my role at Black Men Heal. And so I said, one of my rules as a man is leave things better than you found it. And I went in search of the perfect person to replace me in that role. And as they say in sports, I outkicked the coverage. Doug Reed is, like I said before, he's my brother in Christ. We both attend Family Church in New Jersey, but he's a mentor. He's someone I look up to. He's someone who's, and you'll see him when he comes on the show, he's very humble, but very wise, you can't help but feel a bigger presence when you're talking to him. And professionally, he has a background in procurement and dealing with the armed services, but his most recent endeavors, even outside of Black Men Heal, where he serves as the director of partnerships, is his motivational speaking company and the Let's Go podcast. So with no further ado, I want to bring on my big bro, Doug Reed. Doug, welcome to the program.
Yo, what up, Tank? Man, it's a pleasure to be here, brother.
Yo, I'm so happy you got. I know it's hard to book you, baby. I got to get you while I can get you. So I'm glad I got you, man. Thanks for coming on the show. Tell the people about what you're doing these days, and just some of the ways you affect the community before we bring Brother Reginald on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to really elaborate on that introduction. I think I know the guy that you were talking about, but I definitely got to give you the for believing in me, like real talk, for believing in me, for me to even be a part of Black Men Heal, what I'm doing right now, and it's because of you. Something that you saw in me, and I went over there, and actually, I remember I went over there and I talked to Taz about what was going on. That you sent me over there. She was telling me about the executive board. Then she said, "Nah, we're doing the things out of labor of love." And then the big question, the big, like, the courage to say, "Hey, sis, I need therapy." And I actually went through the therapy and it blessed my life. And that doesn't happen without you. That doesn't happen without God telling you. That doesn't happen without even your business savvy and what you see as far as starting something up. So I'm still learning from you. I know you call me the big bro, but I'm still learning from you. So I'm doing the directed partnerships with Black Men Heal. One of the things, we do the King's Corner. Me and Reggie talk about that, the virtual free space for 2.5 years, working on some other business venture with the Let's Go show, and also some speaking engagements. All that is because I'm watching you. It's about the wealth our way. So that's it in a nutshell. But I'm just excited to be here tonight.
Thank you so very, very much. And with that transitional intro, I want to bring on Brother Reg. So Reginald Howard, I've had the pleasure of meeting Reg through his dealings in Black Men Hill, which I'll let him share with you. But Reg is phenomenal because his, you guys hear me use this word, I probably overuse it, transparency. I only use it because I've heard it describe me, but I it's just how I try to live. I just speak from my heart. Sometimes people wish I wasn't so transparent, that I had more of a filter. But when I think of the word transparent, I think of Reginald. Like, I think of Reg, just the way I've heard him talk about his struggles and his growth. His story is so redemptive, where, and I won't steal his shine of some of the things that not only I learned in the bio, but that I've learned from listening to him speak at several engagements. But he also is, associated with Black Men Heal. He too went through the actual process, and he's doing so much now. He's an author. Let me say it in the order he would rather me say it. He's a father. He's a fiance. He's a man of his family first and foremost. Then he's an author. He's a speaker. He has a podcast. He collaborates with Brother Doug, and he's also program coordinator for Black Men Heal. Without further ado, my guy, Reginald Howard. What's up, Reg?
Hey, Tank, man. First of all, thank you for having us. And thank you for all your guidance as well. From the first time I met you, just dropping these financial gems, just like Doug. I think if I would have got this information later, I don't know what would have happened. And it actually contribute to the conversation today. I want to bring up something that I've learned from you during that, just the trials and tribulations. So I appreciate you for having us and just giving you your flowers of being a big supporter of Black Men Hill from the beginning and a contributor to the Black Men Hill. We can't, this doesn't exist without your contributions and the many others' contributions, but I know you played an integral part of being a part of Black Men Hill. So I appreciate you for having us, and thank you for all that you do as well.
That moves me, brother. I appreciate you, man. So we could love on each other all day, and that's a big part of what I want to talk about as well, because I've been asked a couple of times to present and speak at the virtual King's Corner, which I want you guys to elaborate and discuss with the audience. And the number one word that always comes to the forefront there is love. And what I find, and this is where why Big Bro Doug, he's so reflective of getting his flowers and just always wants to reciprocate back to you what you've done. But I got to tell you, my transparency, I've said it on this show before, I weaponize my transparency. I use my transparency as a defense mechanism. It's almost that, and I think I've used this example before on the show, it's that Eminem's character in 8 Mile. If I tell you everything that's going on with me, you can't find any secrets that you don't know that I'm trying to hide. to use against me later. So my transparency is actually a frailty on my part, I feel. It's that inability to let people be close to me because everybody knows everything. So nobody can, I struggle with intimate relationships. And, you know, the one thing that I can definitely, if I had to list in a hierarchy, what I've gotten from my relationship with you, Brother Doug, is the ability to trust that you can be safely intimate and it not be on anything that's, you know, viewed soft as a man in our community. And that's something that we daily struggle with as Black men. You know, we on a daily basis, what is that fine line between saying, hey, I need help, hey, I'm struggling, hey, I'm hurting, and not being a punk? Like, you know, let's call it what it is. You guys are in the space professionally, so y'all know the right words to say. Big Tank gonna struggle. You know, I'll do the money. I talk money better than I talk, you know, mental health. So I'm gonna say stuff and y'all correct me. You know, no bothersome to me if you say, Tank, don't use that language. I'm cool with it. But I don't think that there's a lot of safe spaces out here for a Black man to allow himself to be vulnerable and not be viewed as soft. So let's start there. Like, talk to me about how you promote the safe space, whether it's through King's Corner or your other various endeavors that you do.
I mean, I'll start it off. Like Tank, we've had numerous conversations in reference to some things we've experienced in life, you know, divorce, intimate relationships. I mean, all those things, all those lived experiences. Like, to be honest, like I've been in the mud for a long time, and I'm coming out. Like, you know, like you said, I'm white. I went up to the mountain with Moses and saw the light. So with that comes the servitude, wanting to help other men get through a process. So only thing I can only be is vulnerable. I have to be transparent. You know, I'm working on my own healing, and then as I'm working on my healing and I spread it, like me and Red share that space of King's Corner, it comes out. You talking about generational differences too. I'm a baby boomer. Reggie is a millennial. So with that space, guys come into that space and they really appreciate it. You know, and this space was actually created after the death of George Floyd. Like, we understand the impact as far as therapy and men wanting to receive free therapy, but we had to come up with a strategy that, like an introduction level, that we can get men to come into a space and, you know, just be vulnerable. And we came up with different subject matters and talking about, you know, from financial literacy to mass incarceration to depression and anxiety. So once we created that space, we just went on faith and, you know, just wanted to avail that. And we've been rocking it for 2.5 years. You know, it's Uncle Neff. Like, Reggie is a beast, even as you said, in his transparency and then wanting to be a legend. So I'll let Reg take it from there. But it's all that we just were vulnerable in our own right, with our own lives, and men just actually like drew to us.
Brother Reg?
So, again, like you said, in the spirit of giving people their flowers, I think this is why it's so important to have like role models in the Black community when it comes to men and older men and our elders, and getting that wisdom and seeking that guidance, because this year was probably my most vulnerable year in transparency, of like even crying in front of a room full of men. And just being vulnerable in that space. And the reason why I was able to do it is because I've seen the modeling, what the therapist called is the modeling from Doug, being transparent and vulnerable, but also just seeing him show up the next week and then not look like, oh, you a punk or you soft, or the next day, or you get what I mean? Because if I see that in school, I have 2 sons. If they see that, I think my son this year for the first time realized that it was okay to be vulnerable and then wake up the next day and not be judged for that way. And I think that generational healing, what we're talking about, is why this space of King's Corner and others with Black Men Hill is so important, because it helps get that transparency. We got brothers that come in that, hey, this is the first time. They don't know these brothers from a can of paint. This is the first time I even said something like this, or they just got out of jail, or they are facing jail, or whatever the case may be. And it's like, man, yeah, what y'all doing is transformational, because I don't feel like I got this any other space. And so what the reason that y'all exist is for me, because y'all look like me, and I feel like I could be vulnerable when I'm with y'all.
I love that. You know, something you just said made me think about the parallels between what I do in finances and what you guys do in the motivational space, the inspirational space, and more importantly, in my opinion, the mental health space. When you are experiencing an emotion, it's just that. It's if we could analogize it to an outfit, it's the coat you're wearing that moment. If you need to cry, you got your crying coat on. You take that coat off and put your I need to knock you out coat on too. And I think that we've so like, you know, and that's what I got in finances. We talked in finances when I first got into the profession 20 some years ago about what it is that you do is not who you are. When people introduce themselves and say, I'm an accountant. No, I am Charles Harris, who works as an accountant. I'm an investment advisor. I am Charles Harris, who works as an investment advisor. And I didn't understand the way I do 25 years later, the importance of separating what I do from who I am. And it's the same thing with experiencing these various kaleidoscope of emotions. You can see me cry in the day and think it's sweet tomorrow if you want to. Like, you know, and that's something that you gotta love. You know, I give life a hard time, you know, with the social media and the stresses and the changes in the fabric of the way we live. But there's something also very beautiful about the progression of life, and that we are coming to a point where we can look at this not the way our dads, our grandfathers, and our great-grandfathers had to carry certain behaviors and own it as their identity. So when you're talking to brothers in the corner, like, you know, I love that you refer to everyone as kings. It's very uplifting, very powerful. And just tell me some of the experiences that you've had with conversations that you not only were able to help with, but took away from something that said, oh, this is going to build me up as a man.
Yeah, I'll start. One of the things that where I'll start with is the fact that our feelings are valid, no matter what they are. I mean, our feelings and our emotions are valid. Even sometimes they you know, they little off center, but they're valid. They're valid feelings that we can express. And I think probably the most the healing for me, and probably one of the things that was very impactful, you know, and I'm even going out on a limb with this, was the infidelity piece, the number one killer of a black man's character. And I went in King's Corner and I talked about that. And brothers had just heard that for the first time because they realized they were suffering too. That was probably one of the most influential things for me, shed tears and just being in that space, being vulnerable, and also trying to, like Reg said, be a role model to even express that and to let them guys know it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to let your things out. It's okay to only understand that there's a problem or you have a problem, but your healing comes with being able to speak on it. You know, I was just on a panel in Philadelphia with Robin Williams' son. You know, exactly. That's how I felt. Like, yo, I'm actually sitting up here with Robin Williams' son, Zach. But he said something that actually changed my life. A lot of things are changing my life these days. But the reason why we go so hard, the reason why you so influential in the finance, the reason why Reggie speaks on his life story is our servitude. And he made this statement that our service is our pathway to happiness. I was like, oh my God, no wonder I'm going so hard. Because I get so much joy in doing it. You know, that's been that was probably some of the strongest things that I've encountered and said and even heard. So I even appreciate you asking that question.
Nah, that's love. And you do model. I think Reg hit it right on the head. You model the behavior that you want people to see in you because it's who you are. And because the alignment is there, that's what you need, alignment. You know, somebody told me a long time ago, the difference between a brand and I forget the other word is one of them is what you promote and the other one is who you are. and who you are is what you promote. That's your authenticity. And that's what we pick up on. And that's what I'm sure keeps not just the general audiences tuned into you, but keeps your relationship with the people who are in your inner circle, like Reg, myself. You know, we can tune in every day, baby. Like, you know, we already know what we're going to get. Reg, what would be one of your experiences from, you know, your travels, and especially in King's Corner, that has not only opened your eyes to where you've been of service, but where you've gotten something back from it?
So we just recently did a King's Corner this past Sunday, and we was talking about self-harm. And I'm a person that went through multiple suicide attempts, and this past Sunday has expanded my idea of what self-harm was, because you think of like the suicide we talked about, Stephen Twitch Boss, rest in peace. You think of like drug addiction, and people get on drugs and then they overdose and things of that nature. But there's also things of like where you and forgive for the term that I can't escapes me right now, but when you want to die by cops, where you going to do crime intentionally for the cops to kill you, or you one that I share about myself, where me and my wife now, but girlfriend at the time, I had found out she was cheating, and I was like, all right, let's go for a drive. And I went to like drive straight down the block and just was ready to, I didn't care what happened after that. And so I didn't even think of that as self-harm. And so just expanding my idea of what self-harm was. And then again, I shared it earlier, but that exposure piece that I was able to give to my son earlier this year, and being able to connect with him on a different level. I don't think fathers get the opportunity, because we got to provide, or we out here trying to get it, or whatever the case may be. We're in the financial literacy platform, so when we out here trying to make the money, we ain't got time for emotions at this point. Like, we got to go grind and go get it. And so for the first time, I got to make money and have my son see me be vulnerable at the same time. And so I got to fuse both of the worlds. And to your point, he got to see who I am as a representative, and not who I show up as when I'm just going to make money.
I love that. What I want to say, and I echo that, Brother Ariane, we are all glad that Brother Reginald's suicide attempts and thoughts of self-destructive behavior, you know, God intervened, and he's still with us because he's a gift. With what, you know, we're a financial show, and we talked about this in the green room before the show started. I am a strong advocate for mental health. I've been in and out of therapy since I was 6, I believe, and need to get back a good therapist relationship right now. As a matter of fact, we're in the season right now, and I was talking about this. Got the holidays. We're over here, everybody's spending too much money, trying to do right by people, trying to be nice to our kids, our loved ones. We also, for those of us who are keeping score on our life, this is the end of yet another year. So, you know, and the end of one year leads to the beginning of the next. So we got New Year's resolutions around the corner. And for some of us who keep score really well, we have the totality of what did we do this year? Did we hit our goals? Did we fail? Are we on target? Are we exceeding? And I like what you talked about with self-harm, because self-harm isn't always physical. Self-harm is mental. You beat yourself down mentally. How many bad taglines do we give ourselves? How many bad narratives do we tell ourselves because we don't know how to we don't feel like we deserve to hear any better? I'm having trouble sleeping again. And fortunately for me, some of the unfortunate things that happen, I keep a journal in my head of, so I know when trouble is on the horizon because of these early warning signs. And one of them is when I have what I call my anxious hours. I always know when I wake up, I can tell before I grab my phone to look at the time, what time it is. You know, it's that 3 o'clock hour where I wake up and I can't go back to sleep, because every responsibility that I have, every obligation that I've told myself is my responsibility and my responsibility alone, you know, to fix, is rearing its ugly head in these hours. And I'm questioning myself as a man. I'm questioning myself from my productivity financially. I'm questioning myself from the behavior I model for my children. I question myself for the sibling that I am, the son that I am. And I never give myself a good grade. Like, literally, the worse I'm doing in my self-talk that night, the longer I'm up. But it's never wake up, it's 3:13. Hey, Tank, you're the man. And you did this, this, and this right. You're living a great life. You're a wonderful person. People love you and you love people. Go back to bed. That's never been the conversation. It's never happened. So what would you guys say to men in particular who have taken on the mantle as society has created for us to be this provider, but that have carved themselves into a corner or on an island as the provider, that doesn't understand that being a provider doesn't mean being alone. It doesn't mean being the only person. It, using your team, how would you talk to men who are out here struggling? Because I can't help, I didn't know the brother, boss, but I can't help but believe, and I'm sure more will come out, unfortunately, as the story progresses, that it had to have some financial motivation. I know the show had recently been canceled. He created, we talked about at the top of this show, perhaps his identity of what he showed everybody became in his mind his own identity and his brand and his image. That's what it is, brand and image. His brand and his image and his mind became one, and he didn't want to go on with the image without the brand. And I'm speculating that could be the case, but I know I struggle with that. I don't want to be not Big Tank, able to take care of people's problems and know the answers and make some money. I don't want to not be that guy. So how do you tell people how to go on when that one particular outfit that they needed to wear that day isn't back from the dry cleaners yet? Like, how do we do that?
Yeah, so it's funny. You said a lot in there, and it's something, if I'm completely honest, that I still struggle with. Like, how can the mental health guy be depressed, or how can the person that has the solution when it comes to these conversations not have no answer when it comes to this? So for me, I think one of the greatest things that I've been able to do, because I just had a conversation with this news company that wanted to have the similar conversation when it surrounded Stephen Switchball's suicide, and they said that his note, he left a note with some of the things, and they did say it was something similar to like financially things that was going on. And for me, I think it's so great to have a support system that surrounds you and breathes life to you. Think about how we just all started this show. This whole conversation was us giving each other their flowers. It wasn't Tank like, yeah, I'm Tank the wealth guy, and Doug like, yeah, I'm the let's go motivator guy. It was each other giving each other their flowers, and even throughout this conversation. So surrounding yourself with individuals who have your best interests at heart, and sometimes that's not enough, because sometimes they can't fix the problems. I know that's what led to some of my demise was that I had an internal self-talk that I couldn't get. Of course, we're going to push therapy, like that's the whole organization. That's what it's about, is trying to find those culturally complement therapists, and being able to help with that self-talk. And then the last thing is, I think you said it earlier about that jacket that you're wearing, and sometimes we got to put the self-boasting jacket on and remember what we did. Like, for example, I was going through that within these past few weeks of like, man, I didn't hit a lot of the things that I thought I was going to hit. I didn't hit goals that I thought I should achieve. I even spoke to Doug about some of those things as well. And one of the things that my wife just recently did was giving me my flowers. And she legit like blow. I want you to feel respected. I want you to feel acknowledged of like who you are as an individual. She brought me flowers to me to like celebrate me. And I started to just think of like all of the things that we did accomplish this year. Me and Doug accomplished this year, personal goals that I had this year. And sometimes we get so caught up in what we didn't do that we forget that what we did in that space. Like, oh, we went around the world hugging men around the world that we didn't even know. That wasn't a part of the goal list this year, but I'm happy that it got on the goal list. Like, we was able to provide a level of vulnerability in different cities that we didn't even know we were going to do. But I'm happy it took the place to me not getting this amount of downloads on my podcast. So you got to really sit back and think about, all right, maybe I didn't accomplish this, but what took in place of that accomplishment? Me and my son getting closer like this was way important than any goal that I had on that list at the start of the year, because I couldn't even imagine writing that out, because some of these things can't be rescripted.
I love it. I love it. Brother Doug, what you got to come, you got to piggyback on that, baby. It's hard, but go ahead.
Oh my God. And that's why, Reggie, me and him talk all the time, and Reggie always emphasize things being legendary, leaving a legacy. And his relationship, just like I said, giving him his flowers, his relationship with his son now he's leaving a legacy to him. Not just, from a financial standpoint, but a healing standpoint. So I really, for me, I think about being one dimensional. You're a finance guy, like, finance up and down. I think about, we go to school, we get education. Like, I don't have a college degree. They only give you one degree. I don't care how many schools, they always give you that one degree, and maybe the PhD, the BA, whatever, but it's always at that one time. And what we got to look at, especially as a man, we can't be one dimensional, because even in a circle, there's 360 degrees, and we talk about completion. So when I think about even the financial aspect, I think about wellness. What does wellness really look like? We would, go to say it's financial, having a finance right. We would say physically, we having physically we're right, going to the gym, emotionally, how we work. Are we happy at our jobs? Social, are we actually, how are we responding socially? Even from the internet, are we influenced heavily by social media and what's out there? Or do we have a social where we are not the smartest ones in the room? You know what I'm saying? And then I think about, how we spend our time alone. Just like you said, I'm like you, I wake up at 3:00 in the morning. But right now it's a little different because, I just had to go there. What God is dropping in my, my thoughts, and I'm writing them down. I'm like, oh, here we go, Lord. I mean, you going off. So I think about all those dimensions, like what makes us whole. And we got to, not that we have to have a balance in certain areas or each area, but we got to touch in them. You got to be able to have your finances right, but you got to be able to go to the gym and eat right. You got to be able to make sure your influence, or, even in, your intelligence, make sure you're listening to something. You're listening to Walk Our Way, or you got a book. Reggie has a book out. We're going to read Reginald's book about lived experiences. So all those things, I think that's where we got to really concentrate on, not just being one dimensional, but actually being those other areas that makes us whole, that makes us complete, and make sure we're touching in those areas. I'm pretty sure you can probably spend 20 hours out of the day just doing financial stuff. But can you spend 20 hours out of the day communicating with me? Like, I don't know. But what I'm saying is there's other areas of our life, and even from a spiritual standpoint, that's got to be a foundation. Like, you already know how we feel. Like, there has to be, spiritually, there has to be a foundation. Whether you believe in Jesus Christ, Allah, Buddha, whatever, but you have to know that there's a creator, that you're not doing this based on your own talent, skills, and abilities. So when I look at that like that, I think about the other areas that we can actually expand ourselves and make sure that we're comfortable in those areas, and then understand that we're 360 degrees make whole, complete. So let's make ourselves complete and venture to other things, and even things that we ordinarily wouldn't do, or what actually really what makes us happy. So those are the things I think about, bro.
I love that. You said something that was so in line with one of my major thought premises, which is, what are we allowing to come into ourselves from a conscious and subconscious level? And it's interesting because I don't have a TV in my home. I'm persuaded through Netflix and other streaming services to watch some things on my computer, but I don't have TV because I want to limit television. One of the things I just got finished speaking to my assistant about earlier today, I don't know how I'm actually going to do it, but I want to divorce completely from social media for 2023. We will still have, of course, our social media presence. I'll record content. I will do things, but I want to take all the apps off my phone, iPad, computer. I'm not checking Facebook, Instagram, anything in 2023. That's not where I'm going to get my entertainment or my life from. I want to connect on a deeper level with my kids. I moved back to Georgia to have my son 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, it has literally been one of the greatest experiences of my life. You know, me and this dude, I just can't even put into words what I've gotten out of this year of spending this time with him and getting back into his life in the way that I've always should have been. The way, and here's the thing, the way I thought I was. You know, I got a lot of credit from people for the way I always came from New Jersey to Georgia and did my week in Georgia. But you know what? It's not the same. I can say it critically of myself now because I feel I'm doing more and I'm doing better. But I thought I was doing good. Like I did want credit for, you know, driving 13 hours once a month and spending a grip. You know, not only was I paying child support that's over $2,000 some a month, but that week that I would be in Georgia between my lodging and taking them out every day, you know, my kids were a $4,000 or $5,000 endeavor every month, no rap. And, you know, so you got the money part. Of course, I'm always going to bring that up, but I've also felt as though I was there for them. But now being present, being 20 minutes from where my kids reside I'm in Alpharetta there in Johns Creek, my son living with me 2 weeks a month, my daughters having better access to me. Let's go to brunch, daddy. Let's do this. I can't even talk about it shows me where I have so much room to improve as a father. And I see that in a good way, because Reg said something earlier about his goals. He accomplished things that he would have never written down to try to accomplish. You know, you're not even thinking about that goal. If you're thinking you're all, and they say an intelligent person knows what he doesn't know, that can be applied to every area of our life. A good dad realizes he could be such a better dad. And I wasn't doing that. I literally thought I was doing, I'm so ashamed of myself for how I felt. Like, I would tell people all the time, I might not be any good with this or any good. I'm a great dad though. And now I'm like, well, I'm a much better dad today than I was last year. And I know I'm not great now. So I was tripping last year. Like, I wasn't as good as I could have been. And, you know, I get so much out of it, which makes me want to pivot. You know, this is just being, I think, divinely directed, because you said the thing that made me think about what influences us, what we're watching. And then it immediately made me think about being a father. So I don't watch TV, but I do have a hit list of TV that I want to watch, because one of my Wealth Our Way clients, shout out to my boy Carl Seaton, is a big time TV director. And, you know, I support my clients. So there's a few shows that he does, Snowfall, Chicago PD. I was like, I got to watch these because my man, this is his work. One of the shows that he directed, he directed 2 episodes of Bel Air. And I never watched Bel Air. And, you know, I saw some stuff on social media from people who loved it, people who had criticisms of it, critiques of it. And I finally binge watched it over 2 days. I loved it. Loved it. And it was funny because he said something to me that now I got it after watching it. He said the thing about this show, the reason I was so excited to direct and be a part of it, is it shows the love that 2 Black men can have for one another. And I was like, how so? Because I didn't realize the complexity of the Jeffrey Phillip relationship until I watched it all the way through. I was like, yo, this is deep. And as I've been known to do, because I'm a big softie, I cried in a few of these episodes when everybody's laughing. Like, it's meant to be funny or enjoyable, but it hit something in me that made me cry, because going back to that inability to be intimate that I have, watching intimate relationships portrayed showed me the void I have in myself. Like, you know, whether it was being a father or a father figure to Will, or being a husband to Vivian, or being a confidant and comrade to Jeffrey, like Philip Banks' character is someone who I said, I know it's entertainment and TV, but I was like, yo, I wish I was a dude like that. Like, that dude is doing his thing. And as Black men, we have so many hats that we wear. You know, in our community, you know, I feel as though we have such a complex relationship with our Black women, based on some of the societal systemic racism that has happened, and the financial. So we talk about when you're a man, you're a provider. And in the Black community, it is not uncommon for sisters to be making more than brothers. It's just not. With mass incarceration, with keeping brothers out of college and sending them to jail, you know, I'm not knocking sisters. I'm not saying that if we had the even playing field, sisters still wouldn't have outperformed us. Please don't, you know, cancel me, ladies. But it's very clear that our sisters have had an opportunity to become better educated and as a result, better employed, better business owners in some instances. And then we get that I don't need a man thing going on. And there's a lot of men, I have clients who are married couples where when I start asking about the income so we can go over the financial statements, it's my wife makes more than me. And I wouldn't know how to navigate that, I don't think. Like, you know, my first wife was a stay-at-home mom. I made all the money and she stayed at home. And even when I decided to take a second bite at the apple, I still made more money. Like, so it's hard for me now. I've seen it modeled in my clients, but it's difficult for me to take that coat off, to say as a provider, I have to be this. When you think of the complex relationships that the Black men in King's Corner or that you speak to through your daily work come up with, how often does their financial status in their own household or in their community come to the forefront of some of the problems they're addressing?
Yeah, so you said a lot in there, Tank, and I definitely wanted to revisit the Will Smith point with Bel-Air, because I think for all of the characters, especially us seeing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air growing up, I think it showed a complexity of all the characters and how Phil had to support his wife, even though she was getting into a different endeavor that he may not have. He didn't know, he wasn't as competent. He used to being the man, and now she's the man. Well, not the man, but now she's getting a level of notoriety, and now he has to deal with that and the complicated relationship between Jeffrey and Phil. And it's like, you my brother, I gotta support you, even though I don't agree with your decisions. Doug tell me that all the time. Like, all I could do is feed you information. If it's up to you, if you're gonna take it or not. And I'm like, I'm the young rebel. Like, I blow all this stuff up. I'm done. I don't care about none of this stuff. And he like, hold on, like, let's do it. But it's just, I think it, to all that, to say all that, it just shows that Black men are not a monolith. We are not just one thing. It's going back to Doug's point of being like 360. I don't think we ever had a chance to be a 360 viewpoint of ourselves, a fourth dimensional version of ourselves. It was like, hey, you are here for one job only. And I don't even think it's just our ladies. I think the system has forced our ladies to even feel like that to some capacity. You will never hear anybody say, hey, I don't need a mom, or I don't need I don't need this. Men would never fix their lips to even say that, because we know that, like, the value of a woman. But I feel like we've all been, even other men don't feel like they need other men in their lives, and not even recognizing the impact having that brotherhood, that fellowship has on you when you're not around your kids or around your significant other. So I think, to just answer your question, when it goes back to King's Corner, there are things that they share in King's Corner that they don't even feel safe to tell their wives or their spouses, or how they get demeaned, or how and then now they're coming into our space like, man, I feel good to just get this off my chest. I can go back and be a better father. I can go back and be a better husband. I just needed a space to get this off my chest, because if I go in here and tell her, she's going to say, oh, I'm being manipulative, or she's going to judge me or critique me or look at me as less of a man. And so when they show up, it's like, man, now I can be the complex version of myself, the full, complete version of myself, as opposed to just showing up and being the one that has all the solutions. I hope that answers the question. I know I went
on. It does, baby. It does. I appreciate you, brother Doug. I know you got some add on.
Yeah, well, you know, it's always tough, man, falling after Reggie. But well, first, I'll go back a little bit, because I've had conversations with you in reference to your son and being that provider and regaining that relationship, to trust the process, to, you know. So I thank you for actually even sharing that story. And then I'll take it. You know, you talk about the finances. I think, you know, generationally, you know, I'm a baby boomer. I think that's all we knew was, you know, provider, like 3-4 jobs, whatever many jobs it took to provide for a family. But I think men lose it a little bit, because they never really take the time out to work on themselves. That's one thing that we're doing. That's one thing that's happening today. That's one thing that's happening out of this conversation. It's the fact that we're working on ourselves. And when you get an opportunity to really work on yourselves, then, take in consideration whether your woman is making more or whatever. You're going to take that time to reevaluate the situation as far as now knowing how to communicate, knowing how to knowing her strengths, her weaknesses, your strength, your weaknesses, and then hopefully y'all can build, whether she makes more or less. But the communication starts because you've been healed. You're able to have a conversation with her and now not downgrade her. See, a lot of things that I know with men, and I'm only, I'm talking about myself too. You got to allow your woman to speak. We have a tendency not to allow them to speak, so we end up cutting them off and then give our viewpoint on what we think they want to hear. We got to slow it down a little bit. Give them the opportunity to speak. And what we notice, even with King's Corner, one of the most important things that we notice, whether it's the tour or just being in that space, and Reg already made this statement about giving flowers. Like, men got to give themselves the flowers. Men got to get flowers. You know why? Because men want to be acknowledged. Men want to be accepted. Men want to be recognized. Men, all those things that per se we think women want.
Right.
Well, guess what? We want them too.
Right.
So when we're able to do that, and that's working on yourself. So when we're able to do that, now we see a clear picture. Now we talk about wholeness. Now we talk about building together. Now, life is a lot more than, what we were thinking one-sided now. Now we're able to actually, I had to go back to the 360 because we want the same thing they want. And we can't get into the fact that we're always strong and bad and all, get rid of that, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What you're saying is amazing because I literally just had a conversation with a business partner of mine starting a new venture. And, he's trying to figure out how to compensate me for the work that I'm doing in the form of equity in his company. And, he's brought the conversation up 3 or 4 times and I've shrugged it off. I said, you know what? I don't really worry about money. And it sounds crazy when I say that because I'm the money guy. I said, the money's going to take care of itself. We don't have to have that conversation to that high level that you want to today. We don't have to talk about the money. I know it's going to be a lot of money. It's going to work out. I have full belief in this project, blah, blah, blah. Then, ironically, he said something to me the other day that, as the word goes, triggered me. We were talking about equity and another group that's going, we're at the cap table, as my man Jigga Man say, what the splitz is. And, we try and figure out what I'm going to get. And I said, now I want to have this conversation. And today we had the conversation. I said, you know what I need the cap table to do? I need the cap table to show me you appreciate me. I literally said that. I felt no softness. I felt no weakness. I don't care what the end money is going to be because and I hate to say these numbers because sometimes when I say numbers, people think I'm bragging. But we're talking about a company that has the potential to be $1 billion company. And real rap, if I got 5% of that company, that's $50 million. If I got 10%, it's $100 million. And whereas I should never say this as a financial planner, I'm going to say it. I don't care if I have 50 or 100. I'm living like I'm good. So the number doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. I know somebody be like, are you a fool? You talk about a $50 million difference, but it don't matter to me. I never thought I'd see 50 million bucks. Like, so if I got 50 or 100, the dollar doesn't matter. They're both great dollars. But show me that you are caring for the contribution that I make on a daily basis to this company. What I do with you every time we speak, the people I've brought into the company to help you form it, show me that you feel like Tank is valuable. And the number that I get paid will take care of itself. And we had that conversation. He said, the way you put it to me today made me take a different look at the equity split because I hear you. Like, he's the founder of the company. Of course, he'll have the most, but there are other people in the company. And it's almost like, and we see it. So this is funny. I would say it out loud because you're opening my brain when you say it. You see NFL contracts like this. I want $1 more than the highest paid cornerback. I want to be the highest paid cornerback. I'm not caring what the actual salary is. I want y'all to know I'm the baddest dude that does this, and I get paid the most as a result. And that's kind of how I went at my man today. I was like, I just need you to show me when I look at this cap table, I see my name second. I see that you care about what I do and you value me there. What it pays me will work itself out. So you're exactly right. We as men, we do want that acknowledgement. We do want that recognition. We do, as Chris Rock jokingly says, want the big piece of chicken. We get so disrespected. Like, you know, we joke and say you call right now to try to make a reservation for Mother's Day next year and you can't find a restaurant already in December. You can walk in on Father's Day. Like, you know, there's no wait. We just want to be acknowledged. And there's been such a stigma associated with asking for that acknowledgement. Oh, you care, you soft. Nah, I'm going to go out here and take every bullet that they shoot at you, boo. I got you, I got the kids, I got my neighbor, I got my mom, I got everybody. These shoulders, they got everybody. Tell me you love me. Tell me you got me is what we need to hear. And I think that there's such a disconnect with asking for that. And going back to Bel Air, seeing that emotion it was great acting, I thought. Like seeing the emotion that these characters showed, the men in particular, the two young brothers between Carlton and Will, and then between Phil and Jeffrey. It was great to see Black men act this way. And I just loved it. I loved the depth of their relationships. And it really made me question how I'm handling my relationships and made me want to model better. So, as always is the case with the Financial Power Hour, it's 8 minutes left. Like it just seems to go. I want you guys to each take a couple of minutes to tell me, as a Black man, what it is that you want 2023 to deliver to your fellow Black men.
Ooh. Yeah.
I go deep, right? I got one deep on that.
Actually, it goes back to what you just said. A lot of things. One, you know, like I said, your feelings are valid, and it doesn't make you punk or less than. I just want Black men to heal during this process, you know, and I don't want to steal Reg's thunder too much, because what I want to do and I want us to do to really look at leaving a legacy, and that legacy doesn't have to be financial. We're talking about the generational healing for each and one of our families. And from a spiritual standpoint, I want guys to have a foundation spiritually. I really do, because we talk about this thing. I mean, you get it. We talk about this thing with success. You know, we talk about our answered prayers. Our answered prayers, like what we ask for now, they're not getting answered right now. These were prayers and prayers and prayers before our prayers. We had generations and ancestors that prayed for us for this particular day. You know, so that's all I want guys to really do. Heal yourself. Know that you're loved, and we say that. Acknowledge each other, not competition, but acknowledge each other, knowing that, you know, sometimes it's okay not to be okay. You know, I'm a motivator, inspiring guy, but sometimes I'm going through it. I mean, let's keep it 100. Like even today, the day is the death of a soldier that lost December 21st, 2004. Nobody knows, but I suffer from PTSD and depression. Who would ever thought? Because going back to the guy Twitch, it all looked good, but sometimes I ain't good, bro. And those feelings that you have are valid. And that's why it's so important that, you know, we have accountability partners. We have people that really care about it. So, hey, I appreciate the time, brother.
Thank you, man. You warm my heart with that, bro, big bro. Brother Reg, what you got for us, baby? What you wish for the Black man in 2023?
Well, since I gotta speak for the younger brothers too, the generation that comes below and after me is, I tell them all the time is you shouldn't feel alone in a room full of people. And the reason why we feel alone in a room full of all of these different brothers or different people in this space is because we are all trying to mask how we feel in our own way. growing up is we all broke or go from impoverished environments, but we all busting on the next person like, hey, you ain't got this. We all ain't got nothing, but we all talking about what we don't got. And so I always tell them it's like you shouldn't feel alone. Share with your friends or allow yourself that transparency to be vulnerable. And then the last thing I say for the men and the younger men growing into becoming those, wiser men, is allow for the grace to change the trajectory of trauma. I feel like trauma was it made us go a certain way. When you go talk about racism and you talk about like how men were seeing their wives done in slavery and so on, and men castrated during all that time, and it caused a rift between our family system as we got older, generationally down the pipeline. And so trauma, I think this generation finally we're changing the trajectory of that trauma. Like, all right, now we know what's going on. It's not me fighting against you, wife. This is the reason why me and my wife has been able to sustain. We had them same arguments of like, what do I need you for? I got a child care paid for. I'm getting this. I'm getting that. What I need you for? And she realized that, and we realized, I ain't gonna put that. We realized together, like we're stronger together than apart. We could play the baby mama drama game. We could play the child support game. We could play all these different things, but at the end of the day, who loses? Like who loses at the end of the day? So allow for the grace of changing the trajectory with trauma. I feel like we're moving in the right direction with trauma now and changing the trajectory as we have conversations like this.
I love it. And to sum it up with a Jigga Man title, what you just said, nobody wins when the family feuds, baby. Like we all got it. And that was one of the titles of one of the Bel Air episodes. Nobody wins when the family feud. Like we gotta stick together. Something you said, Brother Doug, and this is how influential you are to me, because literally this just came to my mind with hearing you talk about the circle and the 360 degrees. What I wish for brothers in 2023 is for you to circle yourself with 4 Black men. I want you to be able to look down, and not down like disparagingly, but down to someone younger than you. I want you to have someone you can pour into. Look down. I want you to find somebody you can look up to, a mentor, a elder who you can get from. And then I want you to be able to look on both sides of you and find a brother that is on your level, that is helpful to you, and one who needs your help. And keep that circle with you in 2023 and watch what it does for you. Like, watch how that pours into you. I feel it already. Just the thought of getting that circle for me. When I became a tutor at Temple University, became a tutor after I broke my knee and sports was not going to be in my future. My girl, Karen Williams, shout out to Karen, said to me, you will never be a better student than you're about to be from being a tutor. You will learn so much about what it is that you're teaching by teaching it. Watch. And she was right. I tutored all the maths and business subjects when I was there, and was A's across the board in my calculus classes and my business classes, because I had to know what I was talking about. So find somebody to pour into, because you'll become a better man when you give to someone who needs what you have to give, and be prepared to learn from someone else, and then take care of your peer group.
Oh, did we lose him? No, you said we might have to carry the show if we lose him.
Red, just this conversation, man, is the conversations that we talk about all the time. We're fortunate. I mean, even the difference between our generations and what we do, and that's why we have so much impact in our circles.
Appreciate it. My battery went out. Sorry, gentlemen, but Big Zach is on Johnny on the spot, making sure that everything was good. Hey, I love you, brothers, man. Y'all warm my heart. My audience, it just has been blessed by your presence, and I can't wait to have you guys back in 2023. Happy holidays to you, to your family. God bless you. God bless Black Men Heal. God bless your individual endeavors, and we're about to bounce. I thank you all for being with us. Take care.
Appreciate you.